Welcome. Welcome back. Okay, nothing to write down here. Nothing to do questions on. This is our first mailbag video where take some of the questions you guys came up with. First, a couple things. One, for those who have joined the Zoom conferences at 10 o'clock on daily, thank you. I very much enjoyed those. Some great questions going on over there as well. We got to hear Joel play the guitar for a little bit, and he was singing for some reason. All those things actually happened. All right, prizes awarded whenever we go back to school, hopefully sooner than later. Let's see what we got here. Pearl Harbor to Coral Sea was the first video. Midway Part 1 was the second video. I'm going to upload actually Midway Part 2 for you guys. You do not need to take notes or do any questions on Midway Part 2. Just watch it. Give me some feedback on what you think. One of the things that I'll tell you guys before I get into some of the questions and prizes that I'm writing down, kind of a scoreboard on here for each block, is one, try to make the videos kind of goofy, somewhat interesting, because, I don't know, that's how I talk in the classroom normally. And I know this sucks for everyone. Like, I certainly would rather be with you guys inside the classroom. That's the best part of the job. Certainly, I'm sure you guys are already kind of sick of being on house arrest, essentially, and things like that. So I figured I'd try and make it a little more humorous and a little more goofy, that at least be a little more enjoyable for you guys and make things a little more normal, because I think right now we all need a little more normal. Okay, so we got here, Coral Sea, Pearl Harbor, let's do it. Let's go with some the essential question answers I like the most. I have this highlight, I gotta look at my computer here. Addie, like the answer. The post-Pearl Harbor event that caused greatest impact on the outcome of World War II is probably James Doolittle's Tokyo bombing mission. I believe it's because it scares the Japanese. Fear can cause pressure and unsurance to humans to make decisions, some good, some bad. This fear had journeyed to destroy the Pacific Fleet, causing even more chaos to the countries affected by this war. That's a phenomenal answer. I think, without a doubt, Doolittle's raid, you could definitely argue easily, is the biggest impact, because that's what then leads to Coral Sea, leads to Midway, and eventually Midway leads to U.S. winning the war in the Pacific. So that's an awesome answer, Addie. Plus 10 on the Mr. Frank scoring chart for wonderful cash prizes. These are in no particular order. These are just ones I liked. A second one I really liked, Sophie. No surprise. Miss Sullivan. The post-Pearl Harbor event that had the greatest impact on the outcome of the war was the Doolittle raid. Because of this raid, American troops' morale was lifted, and like we saw in Vietnam, if people aren't motivated to fight, it will result in catastrophic consequences. There's also a leading point to Midway, which have wiped out the Pacific Fleet if lost, and the war can turn completely differently. Love you added in the Midway stuff. That's 100% perfect. I also really enjoyed you went a little bit different than Addie in terms of lifting morale. Morale's a big thing. One of the things, and I love you connecting the Vietnam stuff to this, is that we struggle in Vietnam because there's a lack of morale. There's a feeling that we aren't actually in it to win. The Doolittle raid gives people hope, and hope's a very important thing. Let's go two more here. Ryan Bergman. Doolittle raid, high-risk move at work because it bombed Tokyo, boosts American morale as a first step towards the Battle of Midway and Coral Sea, which speeds up the Japanese defeat. 100% correct, Ryan. That's an awesome job. Again, the Doolittle raid is extremely high risk, but at that point in the war, we had to do a high-risk move to try to turn the tide of the war, and so sometimes those risks turn out. So that was a phenomenal answer. And let's go right here. Hunter Mall, awesome answer. When the Japanese invaded the Philippines right after Pearl Harbor happened, they invaded the Philippines because they thought it would give them an open door to oil and other things they needed. Yeah, certainly them invading the Philippines escalates the conflict pretty quickly. And so I think that's an excellent answer because things do not play out the way it would otherwise. Okay, let's do some, these are questions I liked. I'm going to try to answer them as quickly as I can. Maybe I won't answer all of them. But I got to scroll here so I can see whose name is on there. Oh, Addie, doing very well here. How the war turned off MacArthur didn't retreat, would there be surprising victory? Or loss? That's tough. I don't think MacArthur could have won at the Philippines. Just the numbers game was too much. If MacArthur gets captured at the Philippines, we might not win the war. Not because MacArthur was this like tactical genius, but because that would have been such a shot to U.S. morale losing the highest ranking military commander inside that theater. It'd be very tough for us to kind of come back from that psychologically. Certainly there were better tacticians than MacArthur, but the morale shot would have really killed him. Sophie, how would not doing the Doolittle raid affect the war? I don't think Midway happens. And what would the war look if Midway didn't happen? I don't think Midway happens. I think Doolittle raid is necessary for it to scare the Japanese enough to make them feel that we have to finally knock out the Pacific Fleet, and it leads them into Midway. So without the Doolittle raid, one, we don't have that morale boost that we needed. Two, we don't kind of like go with the Japanese into Coral Sea, and more importantly, into Midway. That we needed the Japanese to take this high-risk move at Midway to have the opportunity to lay a trap for them. If the Japanese were smart, what they should have done, is what most military historians agree, is just not further move towards the U.S. West Coast. If they had just basically stayed in the Philippines Islands and like in the Coral Sea area, it probably would have been fine. But after Doolittle's raid, yeah, they feel like they have to do something to the Pacific Fleet, and so it leads them into a trap. Great question. 100 points. Why couldn't MacArthur call in more troops? So why didn't we get outnumbered and surrounded? That question is from Estrella. MacArthur certainly did call in more troops, or try to. The problem was we were so ill-prepared going into World War II, the troops weren't there. On top of that, we didn't have a transport mechanism to actually get the troops over there as well. So MacArthur certainly wanted reinforcements, he just couldn't get them. That's a great question. What battle was the worst loss for the United States? Brady? Shout out to Brady. It's the Kasserine Pass. I'll put a video up there. Why am I doing that? Stupid. I'll put a video up there with Kasserine Pass and like a contrast of leadership styles. I don't think I'll have you guys answer. I'll have you guys answer questions on that one. But Kasserine Pass is the worst loss in U.S. military history, or U.S. World War II for the United States military. We will talk about that, but that is kind of what prompts Patton's rise to power. What happened if the Tokyo bombing wouldn't have worked? Callie, it's a great question. Chances are the Battle of Midway doesn't happen and we don't win World War II in the war in the Pacific, so that's a great question. Hunter, you're on fire here. Why they need to attack the Philippines? Why couldn't they just get their own oil? The problem was that area of the world does not have a lot of oil, and the Philippines was the only major nation that actually had large supplies of oil, so by default they had to go in the Philippines. What would happen if Doolittle raid failed? Already answered that question, but I like the question. 10 points, Owen Liu. Okay, these are other questions. Some of them are funny, some are not. Question 1. Why do Mr. Frank's pillows not match? Mr. Frank's pillows don't match because I'm an 18 to 35-year-old single male. There you go. I decorated myself. That's all you need to know. Yeah, they don't match. Or do they match? They don't. They don't match. Okay. Why was destroying the Japanese aircraft such a big fleet? That question is from, you guessed it, Ellie. Really? Sure enough, Ellie. Why is destroying the Japanese aircraft such a big deal? The reason is because that was the way naval fighting was going. So without the aircraft, you couldn't really conduct offensive operations. And after Midway, the Japanese could no longer conduct really any offensive operations against the U.S. military. So that's why it was such a big deal. Where's my shout out? Brady, shout out. Why are your coasters so cool? Thank you for those who have not seen. I gotta lean over here. These are my coasters. It's the United States. Because America. Because America. That's why they're so cool. Why would the U.S. risk flying 6 B-25 bombers that they didn't know they could take off? Hunter, another great question. When you're losing in war, man, like you kind of have to take, you got to take some risks. You have to take some risks. And that was a risk they were willing to take, so we got to turn the tide of the war. Let's see here. Is destroying a Pearl Harbor what kept the U.S. from winning multiple battles? Why are they so shaken? This is one I've highlighted. Why is they shaken by the catastrophic event that they didn't have as much nerve? Sophie, excellent question. Yeah, that's a large part of it. That the Pearl Harbor attack just so shook the American psyche that we had a very tough time recovering. One of the other things too is like the enemy gets a vote. I think I talked about like in a future video, but the enemy gets a vote, and that's one of the things. The Japanese were good. They were a good fighting force. They had 10 years of operational experience that we didn't have, and so we lose the first few battles because you have individuals who have never fought in combat ever fighting against people who have spent the last 10 years fighting, and so they had a distinct advantage over that. But certainly there's a psychological component that it took almost 6 months to overcome. Let's see here. If U.S. had never won World War II, who would win the war? Abby. No last name. This could be any Abby. The Axis powers win. Without the United States, the Axis powers win. No question about that. Okay, I'm going to do one more, and I'll do a second video on the midway questions. Let's see here. Can we have a living room tour? And yes, pretty cool coasters. Okay, I have not cleaned the living room, but let's see what we got here. So I'm going to stand up for a second. Okay, this right here is it's an actual newspaper from the day after Lincoln was assassinated. It's from April 15th, 1865. It's an authentic thing. There you go. It's a couch thing. Let's see here. I don't have all my books out because I have some books right there. But it's a wall. I have a bookcase, kind of like a library type thing going here. A lot of books. That's a TV. That's President Trump. Hi, President Trump. Oh, apparently coronavirus is still a thing. More books. This is a bunch of books about every Civil War battle and things like that. A lot of things going on there. Okay, coming back. I'll show you a few more things. Yeah, I'm wearing American flag pants. Let's see here. So, you gotta get these things framed, but these are the battle maps. So these are authentic recreations of battle maps. This is the Battle of the Bulge, so all 3 days. Again, the plan over my spring break, before the world fell apart, was to get all these things framed, and clearly that's not going to happen right now. This is the D-Day invasion map. And then finally, for our naval enthusiasts, the Battle of Midway. So the goal is to get these things put up sometime in the near future, and I kind of finalize a lot of the decorating and stuff in here. Excellent question, guys. Great questions. I have everything highlighted on here, so if I did pick one of your questions or your essential answers, give you guys some extra points for that, and then when we finally do come back, give you guys some prizes for that. Excellent job. I'll do a second video on the midway stuff. This is already like 10 minutes. You guys probably stopped watching 2 minutes ago. Okay, awesome. Thank you. Stay safe and wash your hands.